this is Sana from Ready and Thriving, and as you know, one of my missions is to reduce food waste, and one of the things I do is to make things all at once as a make ahead, and that's what I'm going to do now, so I thought I'd share that with you. So what do I mean by make ahead? That means that I go ahead and make something that's larger that I know that I can use in a variety of different ways. And I will have some, of course, fresh and hot out of the oven today, but then I'll also have some extras that I'll package up ready to be used in other types of meals. And a great thing to do as a make ahead are potatoes. So I've got a whole bag of potatoes and just me. So this will take a while to get through. So I will go ahead though and roast them all up right now. And that way I will have potatoes ready to go into things like breakfast burritos that I can make as a side dish along another kind of piece of meat or something like this, that I could have as just a really nice potato hash, for example. So lots of different things that I can do with these potatoes, but once they're cooked up. So I'm just going to roast them. You could also think about baking potatoes, and there's a lot of things you can do with baked potatoes as well and cut those up. But roast potatoes I really like because they're also pretty quick to make in the first place. So all I'm going to do is to wash these, cut them into chunks that are, let's say, 2-3 centimeters by 2-3 centimeters, so 1 inch by 1 inch more or less. I can roast them at just about any temperature. I've chosen 425, which seems to be really good, and you just cook those for about 30 minutes or so and they're ready to go. Because I'm going to use these over and over, I will cook them in some oil. So most of the time I use like a hot oil, one that can really take the heat, such as olive oil or vegetable oil or peanut oil. This time I'm really lucky. I do have some drippings from a turkey that I made, and it's got a nice fat layer on the top, so I'm going to use that because oh my gosh, the smell and just the taste is going to be that extra special. So I will use fat on these, and then a basic seasoning, so salt, pepper. I like to put a little paprika on just for flavor and a bit of color as well, but I won't do all the different herbs because I will be using them in different ways. So today I'll probably put some chives on and make them just really nice for me to have tonight, but later when I want to put them, let's say, into a breakfast burrito, I may want to put some different types of spices on there, or if I want to put them into a nice quiche, then I'll want to have more subtle flavors. So I'm just going to do the basics, basically salt, pepper, a little paprika. Those other herbs I'll add as I make my future meals. So first things first, I have preheated the oven to 425, and I'm just going to wash the potatoes. I will not skin them. The skin has tons of nutrients, and I like the texture quite a lot, so just going to brush them down and make sure that they're really nice and clean. Then I'll put them onto cutting board and get ready to cube them. Okay, so the potatoes that I'm using to roast this time are Yukon Gold. Yukon Gold are really great for mashed potatoes. They really become very creamy, but they're also really good for roasting as well. So just another thought, besides baking them or roasting them, you can also do the same technique of what I'm doing now, which is I'm going to cube these, and then you could throw them into a pot of boiling water and and boil those up. Then you have boiled potatoes, and those are also very useful for a variety of things, particularly if you're making mashed potatoes or different types of things where you want a softer potato, maybe like potato salad and some things like that. So you could also just take it at this point, put them in boiling water instead. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start and put them onto a roasting tray, and we're going to roast these. My favorite potato to roast is a red potato or a rose potato, white rose or red rose potatoes. They are really, to me, the best. And for baking, a good russet potato is really excellent. Most of them are pretty good at all-rounders, and a Yukon is also quite a good all-rounder. These here are in quite good shape, so I've had them only a couple of days. Sometimes if you do leave them a bit, it might be a reason that you do want to just cook them all up so that you extend their life. If that was the case and it had some eyes or some kind of wounds or things like this, I could be cutting those off. But otherwise, these are in quite good shape, and so we can just cube these up, make them all about the same size. There's nothing magic about that kind of 3 centimeter by 3 centimeter size. It's really the fact that you want to have all of them be the same size. And that way they all cook at about the same time, and they'll all be cooked to the same degree. Okay, so I've finished cutting those up into more or less uniform sizes, and they fit onto 2 trays. And the main thing that I want to do here is just keep them at 1 level deep. I don't want to have them piled on each other. I want to have space in between so that they really bake and kind of crisp up around on all sides. What I don't want to have is any kind of liquid and stuff start to stew, because what I'm going for here is really a nice crisp bit. So as mentioned, I do have this time some turkey fat, which I'm going to use, which is an extra special treat. Basically just came off of the turkey last time I roasted a turkey. Most of the time when I'm roasting meat, I go ahead and put potatoes underneath the meat anyway, and then it just catches all those amazing flavors from the meat right onto the potatoes. And that is my favorite way to roast potatoes, because you're already getting that flavor just sealed in there. This time I'm not making any meat or anything, so just putting them onto regular baking trays and going ahead and just doing potatoes on their own. But do try that. I find that like for a chicken or even a nice roast, you may not even want to use a rack, but instead just use potatoes as basically to lift your meat off of the tray. And that is just perfect because you get all that wonderful chicken flavor into the potatoes, and you get the benefit of having a tray that you don't have to wash. So just win, 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 win. Drizzle this on. And you do want to really get it on everywhere. So I'm going to stick my hands in there and just make sure it's on all the different sides. You really want to have that well oiled. Okay, now we'll just season these up. So salt, good amount of salt, and a good amount of pepper. Remember, these have no seasoning on them whatsoever. And then once we have them seasoned now, we won't really need to season them much more before we can put them into other things. It's really just adding any additional types of flavors that would be complementary to what else we may be making, such as if we make a spinach quiche or something like that. The spicing profile could be very different than making a nice hot breakfast burrito, for example. So now they're ready. I'm just going to pop them in the oven, and about 30 minutes, and they'll be ready. So 30 minutes at 425 degrees and they are all ready. I just checked them with a fork, poked at it, and just look how tender those are. Amazing. So they're all done, ready. I'm just letting them cool, both trays, and I am going to go ahead and serve up some for myself for dinner tonight. And then the rest of them, I'm just going to package them away so that I can use them for future recipes. So I'll package them in the best way really that I'll be able to use them. So I am thinking about in the next few days to be able to do 2 different new recipes. So I'll just use this glass jar, put a bunch in there for one recipe, likewise for this other one, and then I will freeze the rest because these freeze really well. I mean, think about if you've ever bought frozen French fries or tater tots or what have you. Potatoes actually freeze really well. So once these cool way down to room temperature, then I can just put the rest in a freezer bag, put those in the freezer, and then I can just heat those up. Normally just pretty much from the freezer, throw them into a hot pan and you can be making potato hash easy peasy right away. So love doing these, and this is what I really mean by the make aheads. So these potatoes will be made ahead so that I can make really fantastic burritos. This will make ahead will be fantastic quiche, and these, who knows, potato hash, maybe something else really delicious.